not subscribed to the channel, then subscribe the channel, because we are bringing you a lot of questions here, 3000 plus questions for practicing for your JAIIB exams. We also bring you information related to promotion exams, so stay tuned. So let's begin today's session, and we are starting with the questions. So the first question is, the concept of globalization was introduced in India with dash in 1991-92. So with what the globalization was introduced in India? And the options are industrialization, privatization, 5-year plan, or new economic policy. So I'm repeating the question again. The concept of globalization was introduced in India with dash in 1991-92, and the options are industrialization, privatization, 5-year plan, or new economic policy. So the right answer for this particular question is the right answer for this particular question would be new economic policy. In 1991, new economic policy came because India was facing a lot of problems related to balance sheet, balance of payment, and that is why India had taken loan from institutions like World Bank and IMF, and World Bank and IMF told India to change the system, and that is why new economic policy came in 1991-92. Under new economic policy, there were three pillars, and the three pillars were privatization, liberalization, and globalization. So these were the three pillars of new economic policy. Let's move to the second question. The question is, which among the following are protectionism measure? Increased tariff, increased quota, non-tariff barriers, economic development, increased capital account convertibility, or liberalization. And the options are 1, 2, and 3. 1, 3, and 5. 1, 2, and 3 means increased tariff, increased quota, non-tariff barrier. 1, 2, and 5 means increased tariff, increased quota, and increased capital account convertibility. Is it C, 2, 3, 4, or 6, which is increased quota, non-tariff barriers? Fourth is economic development or liberalization, and D, non-tariff barriers, economic development, increased capital account convertibility, or liberalization. So what would be the right answer for this particular question? What are the protectionism measures that are taken by the government? First of all, when we understand what protectionism means that the government is trying to protect our own economy. There is protection involved here. So what could be the measures? Increasing the tariff will definitely protect the Indian market. Increasing quota will definitely. Non-tariff barriers are also there. So these three are protectionism measure. Economic development, increased capital account convertibility, and liberalization are not part of protectionism. So the right answer is 1, 2, and 3. Next question is, establishment of banking ombudsman scheme comes under which of the following reforms? Prudential reforms, supervisory reforms, institutional and legal reforms, debt market reforms. So what will be the answer for this particular question? That banking ombudsman scheme came into existence under which of the following norms? Is it prudential norm reforms, supervisory reforms, institutional and legal reforms, or debt market reforms? And what would be the right answer for this particular question? It is institutional and legal reforms. Under institutional and legal reforms, banking ombudsman was established. Which of the following was not part of reform of the Narasimham Committee 1? We have all studied this in chap unit on economic reforms in Indian economy and Indian financial systems. The options are capital adequacy norms, deregulation of lending rates, debt recovery tribunal, deregulation of branch licensing. So which of the following was not part of reform of the Narasimham Committee? 1. Can you guess the answer? Because you have to, in this particular series, you have to practice with us so that you can understand that how your preparation for the exam is going. It will help you to assess your preparation. So the right answer is deregulation of branch licensing. This was not part of Narasimham 1 committee. Few of the important reforms that took place in 1992 were, this is part of Narasimham 1 committee, which we were talking about in the previous question. Narasimham Committee 1. So the option, these are the points which were important reforms that took place in 1992 under Narasimham Committee. Capital adequacy norms, progressive reduction of CRR and SLR, deregulation of lending rates, credit delivery, DRT was established, strong supervisory system, entry of new private banks, mergers and amalgamation. So these were the points. Capital adequacy, we all know that all the banks have to keep some capital with them, and they should have adequate capital in case of any crisis happens. Progressive reduction of CRR and SLR, this will help the economy to grow. Deregulation of lending rates, it will help the commercial banks to lend more. Credit delivery, DRT was established for quick recovery and cases of more than 20 lakhs go into DRT. Strong supervisory system was established, entry of new private banks were introduced, and mergers and amalgamations were introduced. So the next question is, which of the following is regulatory body for capital market? Is it SEBI, IRDA, PFRDA, or RBI? So which of the following is regulatory body for capital markets? SEBI, IRDA, PFRDA, or RBI? Who regulates capital market? And the right answer for this question is SEBI. SEBI is the, I'm so sorry, this is written wrong. It is SEBI. So IRDA is for insurance, PFRDA is for pension, and RBI is for banks, and SEBI is for capital market. Capital market. The main focus of prudential norms was in three areas. Which of the following are the three areas? NPAs, capital adequacy, strong supervisory system, diversification of operations, or deregulation of lending rates. Options are 1, 2, and 3, which is NPA, capital adequacy, strong supervisory system, or is it B, which is 2, 3, and 4, capital adequacy, strong supervisory system, diversification of operations, or 3, 4, and 5, strong supervisory system, diversification of operations, deregulation of lending rates, or is it D, which is NPAs, capital adequacy, or diversification of operations? So what will be the right answer for this particular question? The main focus of prudential norm was in three areas, and we have to identify those three areas. So what were the three areas? Is it NPA, capital adequacy, strong supervisory system, diversification of operations, or deregulation of lending rates? So the three areas were NPA, capital adequacy, and diversification of operations. So the right answer is 1, 2, and 4, and so D is the right answer. Which of the following is now not part of supervisory reform CAMELS? Options are capital adequacy, asset quality, merger, earnings, liquidity. So which of these is not a part of supervisory reforms? Can you guess the answer? CAMELS comes under supervisory reforms, and every word in it stands for every letter stands for a word, and we have to identify that which of the following is not part of CAMELS. And right answer in this particular question is C, merger, because M in CAMELS stand for management. M stands for management. So the right answer is C. Which of the following is not part of competition reforms? FDI, FPI, strengthening corporate governance, lowering public ownership. So first of all, we'll have to understand what competition reforms means and which of the following is not part of competition reforms. Is it FDI, FPI, strengthening corporate governance, or lowering public ownership? So what will be the answer? What will be the answer for competition reforms? When we understand that what competition reform will do is, then maybe we can guess the right answer. Competition reforms was introduced so that competition increases, and this will eventually lead to efficiency in the market. So what in the following will strengthen the competition, and the one which will not strengthen the competition will be the right answer? So FDI, foreign direct investment. FDI stands for foreign direct investment. FPI is foreign portfolio investment. So FDI and FPI will obviously increase the competition. Strengthening corporate governance is not going to help strengthen the competition. Lowering public ownership will help the competition because the government was reducing its ownership in all the public sector banks. That help to improve the competition and eventually help it to improve the efficiency of working of the banks. So the right answer here is C. Strengthening corporate governance is not part of competition reforms. Adoption of SARFAESI comes under which of the following reforms? Is it prudential reforms, supervisory reform, institutional and legal reforms, or debt market reforms? So under which of the following will SARFAESI comes under which of the following reforms? Is it prudential reforms, supervisory reforms, institutional reforms, legal reforms, or debt market reforms? So what will be the right answer for this particular question? What does SARFAESI help us in? This particular act help us in selling the mortgaged property, helps in selling mortgaged property without intervention of the court. So which of it will fall under which of the reforms? So this will fall under institutional and legal reforms. And what does SARFAESI stands for? It means securitization and reconstruction of financial asset and enforcement of Securities Interest Act. So this comes under institutional and legal reforms. Next question is the process of reducing dependency and integration amongst particular unit through the world is known as dash. Options are globalization, liberalization, deglobalization, or privatization. What will it be known as? The process of reducing dependency and integration amongst particular units throughout the world is known as dash. When we are talking about increasing the dependency and integration, then we call it globalization. But when we are reducing dependency and integration, then this would be deglobalization. So the right answer is C, deglobalization. Which of the following is not a structural adjustment reforms? Options are industrial reforms, infrastructure reforms, fiscal policy reforms, or financial sector reforms. So which of the following is not a structural adjustment reforms? Is it industrial policy reforms, infrastructure reforms, fiscal policy reforms, or financial sector reforms, which will not fall under structural adjustment reforms? Is it industrial policy reforms, infrastructure reforms, or fiscal policy? And the right answer is fiscal policy reforms does not belong to structural adjustment reforms. Rest of them are part of structural adjustment reform, including agricultural reforms. So these are the reforms. These are fiscal policy reforms will come under macroeconomic stabilization, And so under macroeconomic stabilization comes fiscal policy reforms, tax reforms, balance of payment reforms, monetary policy reforms, and inflation control. Under structural adjustment reforms will come industrial policy reform, infrastructure reforms, agriculture reforms, and financial sector reforms. And this is announcement of a big launch that is going to be launched on 29th of September at 11 in the morning. That is the coming Sunday. And so stay tuned on this particular channel because something big is coming. And if you are planning and if you have registered for your JIB exams and you're planning to appear for your JIB exams, then you must enroll for our paid classes, because in the paid classes we'll be doing all the study. And for enrolling into the classes, go to the Adda 24/7 site, and from there, if you have not downloaded the app, download the app on Google Store or Apple Store. Go to the all courses and JIB CIB. You can take JIB CIB Mahapack, or you can go directly to the JIB October 2024, where you can purchase our Mahapack or the crash courses which are running. And so that's it for today's video. Wishing you all the best for your exams, and thanks a lot.